I would like to now turn the floor over to Representative Liz Berry from the 36th District. She is an awesome environmental champion in our state legislature. And Liz, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Heather, for that introduction, and thank you for having me today. As Heather said, I represent Northwest Seattle in the state legislature. I proudly serve on the Environment and Energy Committee. In just my first 2 years serving the legislature, I've made reducing waste one of my top priorities. So I've really enjoyed working with Zero Waste Washington on those efforts, and so many of you, I'm sure, on this call. Look, we know that the circular economy is important for Washington State. We're a leader and we need to continue to be innovative in our policies to make sure that we continue to be a leader and nurture businesses here in Washington State that are cutting edge. We have to reduce waste in the first place, and all the rest, continuing to recycle, to compost, and then to make new things. I just came back from a tour of sustainability initiatives in Denmark, and what I was struck by is how far ahead that country is in how they think about their waste. Every single piece of trash and waste is reused, recycled, composted, and then put in landfills. And they're just thinking about it in such a way that I want us to be there as well. I'm thrilled to learn about all of the businesses and efforts that are being highlighted today, and all the best wishes for all of you competing in the Precycle Innovative Challenge. Now I'm so proud to introduce your first presenter of the day. They are in my district. It is Brianna Treat, the Manager of Transportation Sustainability for Climate Pledge Arena in the Seattle Kraken. My son George and I went to a Storm game on Friday night, and I have now, it's my third time being at the arena in my district. I get to walk there from my house. I am so struck by not only how beautiful it is, but how green it is. And I was really proud to show George for the first time on Friday. So thank you so much for having me. Brianna, I can't wait to hear a presentation, and good luck to everyone today. Thank you.
All right, thank you for having me again. I'm Brianna Treat, Manager of Transportation and Sustainability at Climate Pledge Arena. Today, I'm going to be talking through kind of our zero waste journey on where we are now and kind of the innovative and creative ways that we are hoping to operate completely as a zero waste facility. So throughout this presentation, I'll kind of be talking about where we are right now with our diversion rate, and again, some creative ways that we've found to kind of jump ourselves into operating as a zero waste facility for every event. So a big part of my job.
Hey, Brianna, excuse me, you are right now showing both slides. It's not in presenter mode. So you want to go up to display settings.
I'll just wing it like this.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So today, a big part of my job is to make sure that we hit our really ambitious goal of hitting a 95% diversion rate. So 95% of all the waste we generate at those Storm games, at those hockey games, at our concerts must be diverted from landfill. So this is kind of a little picture of our sustainability room, aka our trash room. So this is where our recycling and compost compactors live, as well as our 3 12-yard containers that we have for landfill. Where are we at right now? Our diversion rate right now is teetering between a 74 and 75%. Not amazing, but we are getting there. We opened the building up in October of 2021. There weren't a lot of waste procedures in place at the time. So our first month, we were at a 29% diversion rate, which, as we all know, kind of stinks. I am happy to say that as I started in December, we have raised our diversion rate more than 60%. We actually hit our first low 90 diversion rate last month, which was a really huge win for us. And I'll kind of talk about some of the ways that we got there. In February of 2022, we started on-site sorting. So every bag of waste that comes down to our sustainability room is opened up to ensure that every material in those bags is diverted to the right material. Ever since we started on-site sorting, our diversion rate jumped about 50%. And we on-site sort for every event, no matter the size of the event. So all hockey, Storm games, concerts, or one-off events, we are always on-site sorting. This just kind of gives you a really good view of what the bowl looks like inside of the arena. I like showing this because I like to remind people of how many folks come through our doors every event. And, you know, sometimes we have 3 to 4 events a week. That's a lot of waste coming through our doors. For concerts, we house around 17,000, same for hockey, a little bit more for basketball. Waste profiles for each. For concerts, we're generating about 7 to 8 tons of waste per concert. For hockey, it's a little bit lower. It's around, you know, 5 to 6 tons. So that kind of just gives you an idea of the impact we really do have, especially when we have huge runs of events like we have the last couple of months. One really big reuse kind of highlight I like to mention is the reuse of our 45 million pound steel roof. So that was the largest reuse project that I've ever been a part of, as well as the largest embodied carbon project on the West Coast. The roof also kind of acts as our rain to rink system rain collector, and we've collected over 160,000 gallons of water since opening day that we use to turn into the greenest ice in the NHL. You know, journey to zero waste. How are we doing this on front of house? For front of house, we have procured every item to either be compostable or recyclable. So when fans walk through our doors and they purchase food or drinks, those items can be diverted to our compost and recycling bins. The only items you will find on site that will be put to or should be thrown into our landfill bins is our single-use plastic found in our theater box candy boxes and our chip and candy wrappers. We are having conversation with our providers, our procurement, on seeing what they can do about switching those over to compostable. So really pressing our corporate partners and our vendors to really align with our goals is how we are also pushing to become, you know, and continue to operate as a zero waste facility. You'll see these around the concourse if you've been to the arena. These are our WM provided bins. We've worked with WM on all of our signage throughout the arena. We're actually going through a really cool waste signage revamp where we'll be changing out the signage that you're seeing here on these 3 bins and actually using high resolution images to display exactly the items that you would purchase on site at our arena. That way there is no question on where these materials go, and it's super easy and engaging for fans to make the right choice and help us divert to really minimize contamination in our bins. This bin actually just so happens to be located in one of our admin offices. So you'll see the battery recycling container right by the recycling bin. On site, we recycle batteries, pallets, food cooking oil, ink cartridges, you name it. We try to find a home for it besides landfill. You know, a really cool innovation that we've come up with to cut time down in our sustainability room for sorting. Our housekeeping team actually kind of started this new innovative process where we, in year 2 on cracking games, will actually ask fans to leave their waste inside our bowl. Why are we doing that? We have 2 waves of housekeeping that go through after every event. One wave will come through with a blue bag. You can see those pictures right here of our team kind of sweeping through with those blue bags. That team will pick up all of the recycling left behind by fans. The second round of folks will come and do a compost sweep. So you'll see a wave of green bags coming through our bowl, picking up those compost bags. Why are we doing this? So our sustainability room is really small. One design feature I wish we would have done a little bit better is make our trash room bigger so that we can do more in there. You know, we don't have the convenience of being a T-Mobile Park or a Lumen Field where we have lots of room down in that area to have 30 folks sorting at one time. So every event we have about 5 to 6 folks down there sorting every bag. And with this process being implemented, we've eliminated 3 or 4 people needing to be down there in our sustainability room diverting those bags, because we are confident that because of this sweep, all of those bags will be properly sorted, and there should be little to no contamination in those bags, meaning that those bags we are confident in, and we do not need to open up and sort. We can simply rip open those bags and stick those materials straight into the compactors, which we've seen eliminate a lot of our contamination, as well as, like I said, reduce time that folks are down there sorting. You know, we do have items where we don't know what to do with them, or we know that we could do better by. A few examples, for every concert that we hold, we have 2 vinyl, pretty large posters. You may have seen them around if you've been to a concert at the arena. They're non-recyclable on a regular recycling bin, and we know that we don't want to dispose of them as landfill. So we're actually working with a couple of companies on figuring out how we can upcycle these posters. So instead of throwing them away, how about we turn them into tote bags or dog toys or dog beds, or kind of cool things that fans could then purchase back from us at our team store, kind of creating a CPA upcycle line, or maybe even use them as staff and fan giveaways. The picture over on the right is actually a broken hockey sticks then made into grilling equipment. I just thought that was really cool and innovative, and something that we're definitely looking into as CPA as we figure out what kind of those weird items are that we collect throughout our season that we can then upcycle into something else. A way we're kind of trying to keep it circular is that all of our compost is sent to Cedar Grove here in Washington. We are having conversations with Cedar Grove right now on how we can actually purchase back some of our compost and use it for landscaping on site. I think the Mariners did something like this a couple of years ago, and I know that we would love to do the same, and maybe even supply some of our compost to our friends at Seattle Center, whom we share a campus with. So always looking ways to kind of close that loop and bring things back to kind of create that circularity. A way that we engage with fans, and something really fun that we do to kind of help fans understand where we are with zero waste and how they can help us. During Earth Month, we had a materials week, a themed week in April, where we dedicated that week to all of our zero waste efforts and highlighting our corporate partner, Waste Management, or WM. They actually came down on the plaza and did a Touch a Truck event during one of our games. So kids got to interact with the truck, learn more about compost and recycling. We also held a kind of a sorting game. So the game, you had to sort as fast as you could, only utilizing materials you'd find in the arena. And we really found that engaging, and folks learned a lot about what they were doing wrong and what they were doing right, which was a really cool way to teach people about what we were doing, and also selfishly help us out with our diversion goals. Just lastly, this was one big win that we had in March of this year. Billie Eilish had 2 back-to-back shows at our arena at the end of March, right before Earth Month. And if you don't know, Billie Eilish is a huge supporter and advocate for all things climate change. Her tour even has a little bit of a sustainability checkbox that arenas have to fulfill to even get her to come tour at said arena. We happened to check quite a few of her boxes, and we wanted to do a little bit more. So we committed to trying to achieve zero waste for her 2 shows that we had here on site at the end of March. I am happy to say that we did succeed. We hit about 96% over both shows. And something that's just really cool about this is that we had about 30,000 folks come through the building over those 2 days. So about 15,000 per show. That's a lot of waste. And I'm happy to say that in total, we only sent 520 pounds of waste to a landfill across those 2 shows. So the other, 6 tons were diverted to compost and recycling. And it really opened our eyes to really see that, wow, we have an impact on our local community and our environment. But if we dial down, just as we did for Billie Eilish, look how much waste we avoided sending to a landfill. 520 pounds was no easy feat, but now we know that we can operate like this for every event, and we have done so since these wins, which has really helped our diversion rate as well. But just wanted to share this really cool win that we had back in March. But that's all for me. Any questions?
That was awesome. Oh my God, you all are so incredible. I have some questions and I'll get started, but then audience, if you want to raise your hand, we will elevate you to ask your question live, or you can do it in the chat or the Q&A. So my first question for you is, what, if you can tell us, is kind of been the cost premium for doing what you're doing? Because you talked about amazing things you're doing, but others are going to say, well, it costs too much. Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, I would say that it does cost a lot, but I like to also bring up the bowl sweeping cleanup that we did, that new innovative way that we looked at our operations and figured out a way to cut costs at the sustainability room by not needing those 4 to 5 additional folks. That's just one example, but that saved us, gosh, I mean, more than 10,000 a year on labor, just by looking at our processes and figuring out ways to be more efficient. Um, you know, to kind of cut those operational costs. Again, it is pricey, but looking at the way you operate and just making those small efficiencies can go a really long way.
And I can keep on going on questions, but if anyone in the audience wants to raise their hand, ask a live question, go ahead and raise your hand and we will elevate you. So you kind of mentioned some of your pain points, but can you maybe tell us sort of like, what are your big pain points of things kind of moving forward that you are tackling kind of now in your next, say, 6 months?
Yeah, I would say pain points has been fan education. And year one, we didn't have a lot of time to really think about what that would look like because we're dealing with a whole new arena and a whole new culture around this new arena. And we didn't know how fans would really interact. How would they know how to dispose of their waste? Here in Seattle, people seem to really know how to compost and recycle. I moved here from Dallas, and I can say that that is not the case there. So fans have really been huge. But one thing that we want to do better in year two is figure out how to properly message more of our zero waste efforts during our events and really get fans on board to participate in these types of things, to not only learn how to properly recycle here on site, but also how to properly recycle and compost at home and kind of spread the wealth there. But I would say that the biggest pain point has been that fan education and getting fans on board and understanding what we are doing on our zero waste journey and how they are a part of it by purchasing things at the arena and disposing of them properly. So I think that will be a really huge kind of pain point that we want to highlight moving forward.
Okay, great. Now we have a question here from Katie. So does all your recycled material go to strategic services first or straight to the end use manufacturers?
So our process is waste management will pick up our compost and recycling. They take it to the transfer station. I get a picture of every single load that they dump out into the transfer station so that they kind of have these sensors now that kind of highlight contamination. And so anytime that we have contamination, they will send me a picture where it's highlighted. I'll look back at it and then I'll schedule a meeting with our housekeeping and our kitchen staff to kind of go over what we saw and what we could do better. So from that transfer station, it is then taken on to the material recovery facility, where then we're kind of hands off with that. I hope that kind of answered the question.
And we have two questions that have come in. I think we have time for both. Can you elaborate on the promising tactics that you have been doing for increasing fan education? That's question one. And then question two is, well, let me get to that after you answer the first one.
Yeah, so I think a way that we're really trying to tackle that is by redoing all of our signage front of house. So we're going to revamp and kind of, instead of those just graphic pictures, go with those high resolution photos of the actual items you'll find on site. I think that'll help quite a bit. One example we have where people get a little confused is that we have our Climate Pledge aluminum cup on our recycling signage, and then we have a compostable cup on our compost sign. And sometimes that gets a little confusing. And people ask, well, why do y'all have the compostable cup when you have your aluminum? Due to the liquor laws here in Washington, all liquor has to be sold in a clear cup. And since we are going towards, the elimination of single-use plastic, we have to have a compostable cup there. So kind of helping fans understand that by creating those high resolution pictures, figuring out more ways to engage with fans during like the intermissions. We've even talked about having waste sorting, zero waste targeted games being held during the actual games and events so that it's a little bit more engaging and folks know what's actually going on. And we're sharing with fans what we are doing and how they can also help.
And actually, we need to move on to the next presenter, but there is a question, if you can answer in the chat, in the Q&A, about moving to more reuse, which is a question I was going to ask as well. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And let us move on to our next presenter.